What if you could sit down with Warren Buffett over breakfast? Or walk into Elon Musk's office and ask him, what do I actually need to know about money? Most of us will never get that meeting. But here's the thing. These people have been talking for decades, in interviews, in letters, in speeches, in offhand comments that got recorded and shared. The advice is out there. The problem is, most people scroll past it. Or they hear it, nod, and forget it by Tuesday. Today, we're not going to let that happen. We're going to go through the most powerful financial lessons from the world's most successful billionaires, with real stories, real quotes, real context. Not motivational poster stuff. The kind of advice that, when you really understand why they said it, changes how you think about money permanently. Let's start with the man who's probably given more financial wisdom to the public than anyone alive. Hey, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. All right, let's get into today's topic. Warren Buffett has two rules about investing. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Now, a lot of people hear that and think, okay, that's cute, but obviously everyone tries not to lose money. But that's not what he means. What Buffett is really talking about is asymmetry. If you lose 50% of your money, you don't need a 50% gain to get back to zero. You need a 100% gain. Losses hurt you mathematically more than equivalent gains help you. This is why Buffett spent decades refusing to invest in technology companies he didn't understand. Even during the dot-com boom, when everyone thought he was out of touch. He said, "I don't invest in what I don't understand." And when the bubble burst in 2000, while others lost everything, Berkshire Hathaway was fine. His patience made him look boring for years. Then it made him a legend. The lesson isn't be afraid of risk. It's understand what you own. Because the most dangerous investment isn't a risky one. It's one you think is safe but actually isn't. Buffett also said something that almost nobody does. I knew I was going to be rich. I don't think I ever doubted it for a minute. He started investing at age 11. He filed his first tax return at 13. By the time most people are thinking about money, he already had decades of compounding behind him. Time, he says, is the most underrated asset in finance, and most people waste their best years not starting. Charlie Munger was Warren Buffett's partner at Berkshire Hathaway for over 50 years. He died in 2023 at the age of 99. And until the very end, he was one of the sharpest financial minds alive. His most famous piece of advice wasn't about stocks or assets. It was about thinking. He said, invert. Always invert. What he meant was, instead of asking, how do I get rich? Ask, what would make me poor and how do I avoid that? Instead of asking, what does a successful business look like? Ask, what does a failing business look like? And how do I make sure I never build one? This sounds like a simple trick, but it's genuinely powerful. Most people spend their financial lives chasing the positive. Munger spent his life eliminating the negative. And the result was a partnership that turned Berkshire Hathaway into one of the most valuable companies in history. He also had zero patience for envy. He called it the stupidest of the 7 deadly sins. Because at least with the others, you get something out of it. With envy, you just feel terrible while someone else lives their life. In his words, the best way to get what you want is to deserve what you want. Simple, brutal, true. Whatever you think of Elon Musk as a person, his financial story is one of the most studied in modern history. When he sold his first company, Zip2, in 1999, he walked away with $22 million. Most people would have retired. He put almost all of it into his next venture, then into the one after that. When Tesla and SpaceX were both on the verge of bankruptcy in 2008, Musk had one round of funding left. He split it between the two companies. His friends thought he'd lost his mind. His first wife thought he'd lost his mind. He wasn't sure he hadn't. But here's what Musk has said repeatedly about money. I never started a company to make money. I started companies because I thought they needed to exist. SpaceX exists because he believed humanity needed to become multi-planetary. Tesla exists because he believed the transition to sustainable energy was existential. Whether you agree with his methods or not, the motivation behind his financial decisions has always been mission first. And paradoxically, that's what made him the wealthiest person on Earth. The financial lesson? People who optimize purely for money often underperform people who optimize for solving real problems. The money follows the value, and the people most maniacally focused on creating value, even when it looks insane, tend to win in the long run. He also said something that's worth sitting with. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Most financially successful people didn't bet on certainties. They bet on themselves when it wasn't rational to. In 1994, Jeff Bezos was a senior vice president at a hedge fund in New York. He had a great salary, a great career, a clear path upward. Then he read a statistic. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% per year. He wanted to start an online bookstore. His boss liked the idea but told him, "That's a great idea for someone who doesn't already have a great job." Bezos went home and thought about it, and he developed what he now calls the regret minimization framework. He asked himself, when I'm 80 years old looking back at my life, will I regret trying this and failing? No. Will I regret not trying at all? Absolutely. So he quit. He drove across the country in a car with his wife while she wrote the Amazon business plan. He started the company in a garage. The financial advice here isn't quit your job and start a company. It's this. Most of the best financial decisions in life involve short-term discomfort for long-term clarity. And the people who let short-term fear make their long-term decisions almost always regret it. Bezos also had a now famous saying about customers, "Your margin is my opportunity." Meaning, wherever an industry is fat and comfortable and expensive, there is a door waiting to be opened. He built Amazon's entire strategy on finding those doors. Oprah Winfrey grew up in poverty in rural Mississippi. She was raised by a grandmother so poor they dressed in potato sacks. She faced abuse, instability, and a childhood that should have, statistically, predicted a very different outcome. And yet, she became the first Black female billionaire in American history. Her financial philosophy is deeply personal. She's talked about it in interviews for decades. One of her most important lessons? You can have it all. You just can't have it all at once. She built her wealth slowly, deliberately, in stages. She didn't try to own a network on day one. She started as a local news anchor, then talk show host, then producer, then media mogul, then investor. Each stage funded the next. She also talks about the danger of disconnecting money from meaning. The reason I've been able to be so financially successful, she said, is my focus has never, ever, for 1 minute, been on money. What she focused on was, am I doing the work I was meant to do? Am I giving real value? That focus, she argues, is what made the money inevitable. Ray Dalio founded Bridgewater Associates, the world's largest hedge fund, from a two-bedroom progress. He wrote it down. He turned it into a system. That system became Principles, a book that has sold millions of copies and shaped how thousands of organizations run. His financial advice is unusual. Sarah Blakely was selling fax machines door-to-door in Florida when she had an idea. She took her last $5,000 in savings, her entire net worth, and spent 2 years developing what would become Spanx. She had no business background, no fashion experience, no investors. She wrote her own patent because she couldn't afford a patent attorney. She drove to mills in North Carolina, got turned away dozens of times, and kept going. When Spanx launched, Blakely became the world's youngest self-made female billionaire. Her most famous financial memory? Her father used to ask her and her brother every week at dinner, "What did you fail at this week?" If they had nothing to say, he was disappointed. Because in his mind, not failing meant not trying. That reframe, failure as evidence of effort, not evidence of weakness, shaped how she approached every financial risk she ever took. Her advice? Embrace what you don't know. It's your greatest asset. Because not knowing the conventional way to do something means you might accidentally find a better way. Howard Marks co-founded Oaktree Capital Management and manages over $170 billion in assets. He spent 40 years writing investment memos that have become required reading at the world's top financial institutions. His core belief? The investor's job is not to predict the future. It's to navigate uncertainty. Most amateur investors think successful investing means making correct predictions. Marks says, successful investing means understanding probabilities and building portfolios that survive being wrong. His most powerful concept, second-level thinking. First-level thinking is, this is a good company, I'll buy the stock. Second-level thinking is, this is a good company, but does everyone already know that? Is the price already high? What do I know that the market doesn't? The gap between what's true and what's priced in, that's where returns live. And finding that gap requires thinking one level deeper than everyone else. So what's the common thread across all of these people? Buffett, protect capital and understand what you own. Munger, avoid stupidity before you chase brilliance. Musk, bet on mission, not money. Bezos, make decisions your future self won't regret. Oprah, build in stages, lead with meaning. Dalio, treat every loss as a lesson with interest. Blakely, redefine failure as effort, not shame. Marks, know the limits of your own knowledge. None of them got rich by accident. None of them got rich by following the conventional script. They got rich by thinking differently about money, long before they had any. And here's what that means for you. The gap between where you are and where they are isn't talent. It's not luck, though luck plays a role. It's not even starting capital. It's thinking. It's the frameworks you carry around in your head every day when you make decisions about your time, your money, and your risk. Those frameworks are learnable. They've been written down, spoken out loud, published in letters and books and interviews for anyone willing to go find them. The billionaires have already done the teaching. The only question is whether you're doing the learning. If this gave you one idea you'll actually use, that's enough. See you in the next one.